Hi everybody, this is Rajesh Jampala, Dean, PV Siddhartha College of Arts and Science, Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh. I welcome you all to the national webinar on the advent of the cryptocurrency. As you're all aware, today the world is gripped with a new wave or a new fad, whatever you call, that is crypto. And a lot of apprehensions, or rather misapprehensions or myths or whatever, are spreading about the sanctity or the validity of such type of currencies. But it is getting the traction in the sense like recently I read somewhere, the New York mayor has said he will take his 3 month salary, first 3 months salary in the form of digital currency, cryptocurrency. And certain countries have already accepted as a valid exchange. And in certain other countries, even ATMs are also created for the purpose of cryptocurrencies. India, the adaptability rate of crypto digital currencies is very high. As you're all aware, more than 10 crore accounts have opened in this particular area. To give us certain sense of understanding and the status of these cryptocurrencies and the position of India, we have with us a very talented young technocrat, Mr. Dharnesh Krishna. I welcome Dharnesh Krishna Koganti onto the show. He is a sustainability professional and a macroeconomic enthusiast. So we are very fortunate to have a young and as appropriate, a suitable expert in the field of digital currencies or cryptocurrencies. So, on behalf of PV Siddhartha College of Arts and Science, I once again thank Mr. Dharnesh for accepting our request at a very short notice. Now, I request our student, Mr. Akash, will formally introduce our chief guest. Over to Akash. Yeah, over to Akash. Are you there? Yes. Screen. Yeah, Akash, you can start.
To present program audio
Yeah, Akash, you can start.
So I'm there, sir.
Yeah, Akash, you're not audible actually. Akash, please wait. Yeah, due to technical hiccup, there was some problem at our student end. But anyhow, I'll formally introduce Mr. Dharnesh Krishna Koganti. As I said, he is a sustainability professional. Sales and distribution area is his forte. And he is having expertise in energy storage solutions, battery-enabled consumer electronics, lithium-ion batteries. We are moving towards green technologies. So he's having the required skill set in terms of the lithium-ion batteries and battery-enabled consumer electronics. He is having background of enterprise sales. At the same time, he is following the macroeconomic trends in a big way. He involved in strategizing and setting up of sales and distribution channels, increasing revenue, providing solutions that bring value to organizations and its stakeholders. Currently working with a startup which is into design and development of consumer electronic products. Is passionate about selling, macroeconomics, spreading the knowledge and creating wealth for individuals and organizations. Is having experienced sales representative with a demonstrated history of working in the information and communication technology and distribution industry. Strong sales professional with an MBA focused in marketing and finance from National Institute of Technology. Presently, he is the Director of Sales and Distribution, Liva Innovations Private Limited. So earlier he worked in Trizin Technologies as a business development manager, and he helped the Trizin Technologies in providing intelligent power management solutions for enterprise and organizations, helping them to save power on their usage of IT devices by 30 to 50%. And he provided wireline solutions to enterprise customers in data, voice, and IDC business. So, with this brief background about our chief resource person, Mr. Dharnesh, we are all looking forward to his talk on the advent of cryptocurrency. Over to Dharnesh. Dharnesh,
right.
The floor is open to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for having me here, and thank you for that warm introduction. First of all, I want to take this opportunity to thank the college administration, Dr. Ramesh and Rajesh sir here for having me here and giving me this opportunity to share what I have gained as a knowledge and information. And to begin with, I would like to give you a small brief about myself. Like sir has already given me talked about, I started my career with sales, and I've been a sales professional throughout my career, which is what I do even today. Yeah, macroeconomics is something which I took on as a passion, and from past maybe couple of years, I've been following these macroeconomic trends strongly, and this is one particular topic which has been picking up. I have been following cryptocurrencies since Bitcoin was under $10,000 per Bitcoin. So I've seen the rise of these cryptocurrencies, and I've seen how it is actually going to, the way I have explored it, the technology, how it can impact the society and the finance industry specifically. And off late, what things are happening, the way things are going, I'm not particularly happy about the way people are adopting this technology. And I feel that there is not much of education, and this particular lack of education is going to affect people in ways where they can actually lose money. And that is where I took on this effort to share what I know to people around, and make sure that if they're getting into certain asset class like cryptocurrencies, they know what they're getting into rather than just speculative herd mentality. Okay, so having said that, let me begin the session. Normally I tend to attend a live or a physical form of sessions where I like to interact with the audience that I have. Unfortunately, thanks to COVID and the scenario outside today, that is not possible. Okay, so with this particular platform, I think the interaction level is limited to a certain extent, but I would not say it is 100% not possible. Okay, so my request to everybody attending this session is please feel free to raise questions, and I think you'll have to send out a message to the host or a message to me. So please do that, and if I'm going too fast, too slow, and please just raise your hand or do whatever it takes for me to stop and then recreate that for you. Okay, so before I begin, I would like to give you some head notes. That is, I am not here to advertise anything. I'm not here to give you investment advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not here to change or give you my impose my viewpoints on you. What I'm sharing is the information that I have gathered, and these are based on my opinions, and some of them are facts. I have driven certain opinions basis the facts that I have seen. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show some facts and figures, and I'm going to share my opinion on those facts. My request to you is do your own research. The whole agenda of this session is if any of you could actually take the time out to start digging and start reading and learning about this particular technology and the macroeconomics part, that will be my job done. My job here is not to convert you or impose my views on you. My job here is to show you a picture and encouraging you to create your own opinions, use your own research, and develop from there. Right? Okay, so let's begin then. So the apt topic is basically the advent of cryptocurrencies, and I'm specifically talking about cryptocurrencies in a very macroeconomic view, specifically pertaining to this finance sector. And so when I'm talking about macroeconomic, you will see that I am mostly talking about the global economic conditions, especially the USA, which is the United States of America, because I don't have to explain why USA is the economic superpower. They are the economic superpower, and whatever happens to US will have a drastic effect or an impact or a ripple effect across the globe to a lot of countries. And since we are living in a day and age where it's globalization at its peak, if something happens to a global super economic power like USA, it will have impact across the globe. It will have ripples of impact. Okay, so let's go forward. Now, first question I wanted to ask everybody is basically, why do you need cryptocurrencies? What is the need for these cryptocurrencies? Okay, and if you guys are in front of the system or something, I would like to see some. If you can type something in the comments, that then I know what you're thinking about why you need cryptocurrencies. So whatever you type will be visible in the comments, right? Funny. Funny, you're there? Okay, I don't think that's working. So let me just move forward. Okay, so basically, why do you need cryptocurrencies? We have the existing banking system, existing monetary policies, existing currencies, which are already getting digitized, right? Today, India has the largest UPI transactions in the world, and we have been seeing a lot of people using or moving on to UPI because of the ease of use. Today, to give you an example, I don't remember when was the last time I have actually withdrew cash from an ATM. I have not been using cash at all. Wherever I live in Bangalore, so wherever I go, wherever I purchase, eat, dine out, or do any sort of purchase, I swipe up my phone, use my UPI, and then done. Or I use my credit card at the worst. If my UPI doesn't work, I use my credit card or debit card, whatever that is. So as personally, my own example, it's been almost a year or so that I have actually withdrawn cash. So when you're actually seeing this kind of digitization of the existing currency in the market, the question arises, why do you need a cryptocurrency, which is another form of a digital asset or a digital currency? Okay, so I'll give you more information. So first of all, I want to let you know what actually drove people to actually invent a cryptocurrency. So to give you a brief, Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency which got invented in the world, and even till today, we don't know who is the person, either he, she, or a group of people who actually invented this technology. So the person who invented is called Satoshi Nakamoto, and we don't know whether he is a man or woman or a group of people who actually did this. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about right now is a brief history about our global monetary policies and what led to the invention of this particular technology in the first place. So first things first, we have something called as Bretton Woods system. So to give you a brief about Bretton Woods system, during the World War II, when most of the countries were at war with Germany, which is Hitler, what happened was the war expenses were too much. Like, any war, you go to a war, if the country is going to a war, that means their expenses are going skyrocketing. Okay, you have too much of money to spend on weapons, armory, medicines, medical applications, so on and so forth. So during the war, all the countries, most of the countries, all the developed nations, India was still under the rule of British back then in 1944. And what happened was the European countries and most of the other countries on both the sides of the war, they all ran out of money, in the sense they were all running huge deficits, in the sense they were all in debt. At that particular point in time, US was the only economy which had a strong economy with large gold reserves. So and in those days, a country used to trade with another country by using gold reserves, not the US dollar. So if India wanted to buy something from let's say US, or let's say from Brazil, India would ship the gold to Brazil, and then Brazil would ship the commodity back to us. So it was highly gold operative trade economy back in 1940s and 1930s. So during the Bretton Woods system, what they said was, number one, gold was becoming very difficult to acquire, because all the gold in the world, majority of the gold, had gone to US, because US was the only one country which entered the war very late. And during the war, when all the other countries were actually shutting their existing manufacturing plants of day-to-day commodities and converting them into war manufacturing units, like they closed down all the factories, or they converted all the factories and their manufacturing units of day-to-day regular commodities into war manufacturing units. They started making ammunition, they started making war machines, all the things that is required to survive a war. So nobody was making toothbrushes, nobody was making soaps, nobody was making your beds. So all these factories, all these labor, everything got pushed over to making guns, making weapons, tanks, building tanks, airplanes, ships, submarines, and so on and so forth. Only the US, which entered the war very late, had all these factories. Like, they were making the toothbrushes, they were making the soaps, they were making the beds, they were making the essential commodities which everybody would require on a day-to-day basis. And the US was exporting this to all the European countries and all the other countries which were at war. And like I mentioned, how the trade used to happen was, the gold used to come from, let's say, London to USA, and then the commodities would go from USA to London. So what happened? Because of this, US started accumulating gold. US had a lot of gold reserves. By the end of 1944, US had the largest reserves of gold in the world. And all the other countries were bankrupt. They didn't have any gold. So what they did was they met in a place called Bretton Woods, all of these important countries, and they said, let's make US, or the US dollar, as the global reserve. And that's when the global reserve dollar was born. And they decided that global reserve will be, US dollar will be held as a global reserve, and US dollar will be backed by the gold, which the US has in their banks, in their federal bank. Because US had the largest gold reserves, and US economy was the largest, booming, and the strongest economy available right there, they all chose, let us all do transactions in US dollars, and let the US dollar be backed by gold. So that is the Bretton Woods system, the global monetary system, which actually began, and it tied all the other assets, all the other currencies to US dollar. And then the US dollar was tied to gold. Now, what happened after that was, the US started manipulating it. Meaning, what happened was, let's say you have 1 gram of gold for one $10 bill. US started printing more dollars. You have same 1 gram of gold. Now you have 10 $10 notes, or a 2 or 5 $10 notes. So that means the amount of gold reserve was constant, whereas the dollars that are being printed were going higher and higher. So what happened was the US was going into wars all over the place, especially the Vietnam War. When they went into Vietnam War, because the Cold War started, right, between Russia and USA. Russia was promoting communism everywhere. USA was promoting democracy everywhere. And when the war brewed up in Vietnam, the Russian the Russia was supporting the other side, and USA was supporting the other side of the Vietnamese population. So what happened was, US wanted to start printing money because in fact they were so surplus, they were so rich back then. They thought taking some extra loan and printing more money wouldn't affect their economy. But then wars, how they are, right? You can only start, but you never know when they will end, right? So it kept on going and going, and the deficit spending, the printing of dollars kept on increasing. And at one point in time, the other countries in the world started thinking, oh God, US is actually printing more dollars than actually the gold which is available with them. So France was the first country. They said, please give back my gold. And they sent all their US dollars, which they had, all the forex that they had, and then sent it back to US, and they said, give back my gold. Having seen France do this, now one by one, all the other countries, all the other people who actually owned gold, all the institutions who actually owned, sorry, not gold, owned US dollars as a reserve, they all sent it back to US asking for the gold back. So what happened was, the US realized that they will run out of gold. And then in 1971, August 15th, the then President Nixon, what he did was, he actually cut the connection between gold and US dollar. He said, the dollar is not going to be backed by gold anymore. So you will not get any gold for the dollars that you're giving me now. Because if he had done that, people would have known that US has actually manipulated, and they have actually printed more currency notes or more dollars than actually it is backed by gold. So he immediately cut the ties between gold and the US dollar. So what happened then is, we had the birth of something called as fiat currency system. So today, thanks to that move, no currency in the world is backed by anything. All those papers that you see in your hand is backed by just confidence on the government. It is confidence on the US government that the dollar is going on. It is confidence on the in the Indian rupee that you have value on that currency note. It is all on the confidence of the government, of the sovereign country. Okay, so today that is the scenario, unfortunately. Now, what has that led to? So, because there is no backing, because there is no there's nothing to peg the dollar, the US economy started printing more dollars, more currency, and then boosting their economy. They started boosting their economy, and they're growing so fast that it started creating artificial bubbles. And one such bubble, which actually burst in 2008, it's called as the Great Financial Crisis. I don't know how many of you remember that. We had a lot of banks, the large-scale banks, which actually crashed during that year, and people lost jobs. I remember I was in my college, and it impacted my campus placements, and people everywhere over the globe. Chinese economy fell, the Indian economy, we didn't have that much of an impact, because in India we have a different culture. We have a lot of savings culture. Back in 2008 we still had that, and I still feel that Indians as a culture, we have a lot of savings mentality, even though I can see that going away. But thanks to that culture, we actually we didn't get that impact as large as the other countries which got impacted globally. So what happened here was, in the global financial crisis in 2008, the banks, the crash was done because of the mortgage-backed assets. So I'll just give you a brief. So basically what happened was, every time you take a mortgage, which is a loan on your house, the bank would give you a loan for purchase of your house. So you would purchase your house, and typically what happens, once you buy a house, you pay back the loan, right? Every month you pay a certain amount of EMI on your house. And normally people don't avoid paying EMIs because it's their own house. It's very sentimental to them. They bought a house, now they want to live in that house, and they call that their home. So they keep paying the EMIs. They will not default on it. So it started there. Now what happened? One by one, everybody started getting loans. So initially they started giving loans to all the credible people, like people who could actually repay the loan. And then what did they do? They tied up all these loans in one basket and sold it to other investors as an investment class asset, because people are not going to default on their loans. They are going to pay their EMIs, they are going to fulfill on their loans, and the investor also will get his money back. So a lot of investors started loving this asset. They just came and started buying this from the banks. And one fine day, the banks ran out of this asset because there are only a few people, obviously the credible people who can actually repay the loan are limited in numbers, right? You can't have everybody having in that credible, your credit score. Not everybody has a great credit score, right? So people with good credit score were very limited in numbers. So the banks ran out of loans. Then they got greedy. The banks got greedy, and they started giving loans to people who can't even afford to repay the loans, just because they can have another asset created and then sell it to people in the market. And this happened so fast, and this kept happening, and nobody even questioned. And people kept on buying these assets from the banks, thinking that, oh, these are very liable, very fundamentally strong assets, and then people will keep paying their EMIs, and the investor will keep getting their money. But what happened eventually was they really started giving these loans to those people who can't even afford to own a home. And they started selling 2 homes, 3 homes, 5 homes to people who can't even buy 1 home, or can't even afford to pay EMI for even 1 home. And what happened when these people didn't pay their dues? The whole global economy crashed. That means it was so, they gave loans to so many people who cannot even pay their loans back. They didn't even create their credit ratings. They didn't check their credibility. They just kept giving loans so that they can create an asset out of it and then sell it to somebody else and make money out of it. That was the greed back then. Okay. And what happened was it clashed the whole global economy. And then people realized that the existing banking system and the current global or the financial system has got a lot of loopholes, which these banks have actually made use of, and they've actually screwed over a lot of people, to be more frank and upfront. So that is one of the reasons why the cryptocurrencies came about. That thing, I personally feel that is the triggering point. People had enough of this, and then the whole gamut of hackers or IT tech guys, whoever that Satoshi Nakamoto is, invented Bitcoin. Okay, so Bitcoin got launched in 2009 or 2008, if I'm not wrong. Then there are several other reasons why we have this. We are all called debt-based economies. So today, even India, including India and everybody in the world, everybody runs on debt. Everything runs on debt. Every year, the governments do their budgeting on debt. So there's something called fiscal deficit. So that means every year the governments in the world are taking loan from the future and spending it now. So it's called debt-based economies. So the debt is what is running the world right now. And then every time you take debt, there is new piece of currency which gets generated. I don't want to get into that now because it will get all overboard. If you have any questions, please ask. Any questions till now? Is it too technical? Am I keeping it simple, or? Let me see. No questions? Okay. If you don't have any questions, then I'll move on. Yeah, I have one question is asked. The question is, cryptocurrency still remains beyond any regulation in the country? Yes, absolutely. It is still any beyond, except for few smaller countries and African countries. Yes, it is still beyond any regulation. Yes. Is there any doubt in this? How are the cryptocurrencies transaction recorded? Okay, I'll come to that. Sidhu, anything else? Replace the main currency in the future? I don't know, Jay. I don't know if it will replace in the future or no. That is a very valid question. That is, there is a probability, but which cryptocurrency will do it or whether it will do it or not is something is still under probability. So I'll talk about all that in the further slides. So please hang on to that question. Crypto as an asset class might be allowed in India. Could be, could not be. I right now we're sitting on the fence, Shaheen. Anything else? Okay, thanks for the question, guys. So if in case I'm too fast, too technical, please do let me know, and I'll move on from now. So, okay. And then we are also called as inflationary economies. Why do I call ourselves the inflationary economies? Is we need inflation to grow the economy. Have you ever seen, if you look at any central banks across the world, they always have inflation targets. That means you need to inflate. That means the currency will have to lose its purchasing power. So India especially, we have inflation target of 2% to 6%. So if the country is having an inflation of somewhere between 2% to 6%, we are good to go. We are fine. So as on today, the recent MPC meeting, the Monetary Policy Committee meeting, the RBI Governor, Mr. Shri Shaktikanta Das, said that by this financial year, India is going to have, by the end of this financial year, we are expecting to see an inflation rate of 5.3%, which is inside the trajectory which we are targeting, but it is on the higher side of the trajectory. Similarly, US also has the same goals of, until recently, the federal bank there was having a target of 2% inflation, which is already breached. And I think somewhere the inflation in US is somewhere between 4 to 5% as I speak today. So they need, these central banks need the inflation to be there, because that's how the economy is deemed to be growing. Now, as a common man like you and me, what does it mean for us? That means every time you earn money, it is a given guarantee that you will lose the purchasing power. It will keep eroding, either at 2% or at 5% or at 6%. The governments or the central banks want it to lose its purchasing power. That's how the system is, unfortunately. And there's nothing that you and I can do. Next, we have centralized economies. Why I'm saying centralized economies is, even though we live in a democratic world, today you and I as a common man have zero say on the economic policies or the monetary policies which the globe which your country or my country or any country has. So in the US, it's the federal bank. In India, we have the RBI. Similarly, a lot of other countries have their central banks which actually decide the monetary policies. As an individual, let's say today you say, Dharnesh, I don't want this. Let's not do this debt-based economies. Let's actually do it the right way. You and I have no say on it, my friend. Zero. It's just that the RBI or the central bank or the government who's there in power, and that too at a limited influential power, will have a say in it. And people with large scale, industrialists or bankers, investment bankers, large banks have a say in it, but not you and me. So these are some of the reasons why somebody thought it's high time we have something like Bitcoin or something like a cryptocurrency, which is outside the purview of a government or outside the regulatory norms of a government, so that the government cannot manipulate the currency supply, the government cannot manipulate the inflation and the deflation. See, the governments in the world, they don't want deflation. But actually, if you have deflation, that means what? Your rupee can actually purchase more goods and services than what it can actually purchase now. So, but then if that happens, the asset prices also drops down. See, the cost of the assets also come down. The stock markets come down. The bond markets come down. The real estate will come down, which the governments don't want. The basic thing here is, what you need to see is, in a capitalist or in an economy where you have a capitalistic economy, you always have booms and busts. Means the economy will go boom, will have a lot of growth in the economy, and then as a natural tipping cycle, it has to come down, go through a recession, touch the trough or the bottom, and then again go back up. That's how the natural free market works. That's how the natural free capitalist market works, and that's how it should work. Because as the economy grows, so will the inflation grow. And to tame the inflation, naturally what happens is the free market will bring in the equilibrium, because the interest rates grow high, and then the market will tip down, slow down a bit, and then come down, and then again pick up space. That is the natural flow of a free market. But what is happening in today's world is no government wants the tipping point to happen. If that happens, let's say today, Joe Biden is the president of the United States. As a president, he would not want the tipping point to happen under his rule, right? No government wants it, because people think that if it is happening in his rule, oh, he's a bad president. He's the one who's actually not run the government properly, and because of him, the economy is tipping down. But actually, if you look at it as a free market, if you look at a free market, it is quite natural to economy to peak and then have a recession and then go peak up again. But unfortunately, no government wants to do it. Any country for that matter. It's not about Joe Biden. It could be our own country. It could be any other country in this world. So what the governments do is, every time the economy is slowing down, they start putting in more money in the market. They make debt cheap. They reduce interest rates. They reduce interest rates so much so that people can take on more loans and start something new. Like, let's say you want to start a business, they'll make sure that interest on the loan is so low that you are encouraged to take that loan and start business, start some activity, start something which will actually increase the GDP of the country and then increase the growth again. But what happens is, there is only certain business owners or certain people who actually take loans for businesses. So what happens now? You take loans, then loans for cars started, loans for how homes started, then loans for, now you buy a commodity on Flipkart, which is a phone. You have loans for that, right? You have EMI for that. So today, because the economy shouldn't slow down, the governments or the central banks start reducing interest rates, and they start pumping more money into the market. They generate more currency in the market. So today, if you see, even if you buy a credit card slip that I get, it says, even for a 10,000 rupee credit card slip that I get, it says you can convert that into EMI at 2,000 rupees per month. And it says if the credit card bill is more than 2,500, you can convert that into EMIs. So what does it mean? It means it wants you to take more money out, spend it in the market, circulate it, so that the economy keeps running and running and running. So if economy dips, what happens? Nobody starts spending, right? People will keep their money safe, because it's a times of uncertainties. You don't know what will happen tomorrow, so they will store, save more, and they will use it only when they require it, like food, homing, shelter, clothing. They'll not spend it more than what is actually required. But that is a disaster for a central bank. They need people to spend more, do more businesses, more financial transactions, so that the economy is running at the same speed which it was running today, or what it was running like yesterday, right? So, but that is the challenge here. So that is where it's creating all the problems. Now, let's look at the financial policies, how a government or a central bank of a country manages the inflation and deflation. Any questions still here, guys? Please ask. Any questions? Am I going too fast? What is your suggestion for people who want to start cryptocurrencies? Oh my God. Okay, I'll come to that, guys. Hold on. I'm just giving you a background so that you understand where we are, what we are. Are cryptocurrencies legal? I'll come to that, Kumari. What else? Is it good to permit private vehicles to hold asset of government? Yeah, it is. It's already allowed. Vivek, sorry, Vivekananda, sir. I didn't see that name. You already have that. Why cryptocurrencies are doing bad job at market? I'll come to that, Jahnavi. Anything else? Any question with the topic that I just covered, with the slide that I just finished? Okay, let's move on. So now, the reason I'm giving this background, guys, is you need to know this. I don't know if you are a dancer, singer, movie star. I don't know what you are, but this is essential. You need to know this. This is, if you don't know this history and the background, all this hype in cryptocurrencies is just speculation, and you will not get anything out of it. You will not know what is happening. So just bear with me. I will cover the crypto part. Just go through these basics so that you know what is happening in the world today. Okay. So there are two types of one is monetary policies, which a government or a central bank controls the economy. One is the monetary policy. Basically, what does it do is it controls inflation and deflation by altering interest rates. So if the central banks see there is a deflation coming or there's a recession coming, where people the velocity of the money is not moving, people are not spending, there's not much financial transactions happening. What the central bank does is it reduces interest rates. So for example, here we have repo rate of 4%. What does repo rate mean? Basically, the interest which banks can take money from RBI. So it reduces repo rate so that banks can take more money from RBI. And once the banks can take money from RBI, banks can lend to the people outside in the market at a lower interest rates. If the RBI reduces interest rates, banks can also offer you loans at a much lower interest rates. Okay. And something else called cash reserve ratio. So what does this mean? This comes under fractional reserves system, which again is a topic of separate topic altogether. What does this mean? Simply is the banks have, let's say, 4 rupees in their bank or a 4 rupees in deposits. They can give out 100 rupee loans to people outside. That means, let's say you put 4 rupees in the bank today. Using your 4 rupees as a reserve, banks can give 100 rupee loan to people outside. You get what I'm saying? So that's minimum cash reserve. So that's a fractional reserve system, wherein any amount of savings or deposits that you put in a bank, the bank is liable to give out 96 rupees or 96% of that deposit as loans. Okay. So that's how they control the market. So if the market is growing too fast, there's a lot of inflation coming in, the repo rate will go up. So previously repo rate 6% before the COVID and before the recession was tipping in, the repo rates are 6%, 6.5%, around that range. So because we got COVID and not more financial transactions are happening, the repo rate got reduced. And as the central bank wants it to be at 4% for some more time and support the economy to go back again. Next is the fiscal policy. Now this fiscal policy is by the government, not by the central bank. Central bank is RBI, government is the political government, which whoever's there in power. So today Modi government is there, the BJP is there. So the fiscal policies will run by the BJP. So what does fiscal policies consist of? They are basically how to use the revenues of the country in building infrastructure and social welfare. So they are at power to use your tax money or borrow loans from the future of our generation and choose to spend where they want to spend. They can spend that on building infrastructure. They can spend that in giving free stuff to people. They can spend that in appraising the backward communities. All those things, all those measures that they want to do. So these are the two aspects that governments control the market. Okay. Now the challenge here is when it comes to fiscal policy, what the problem here is, the governments of the world, not only India or any this thing, it's just a human phenomena everywhere in the world, and we have seen this in history as well. What happens is the governments want to keep giving more free stuff because they want more votes. They want more people to keep them in power. So they keep giving free stuff. This happened back in when Athens was there. Athens was the first democratic country in the world, or rather province in the world, back in 4007 BC, even before AD. Okay, 407 BC, Athens was a democratic country. They were very forward back then itself. and they had gold and silver as their tender, and they also fell because of unwanted fiscal policies. They started giving too many free stuff, too much of war. They picked on a war which they cannot fight, or it is not their war, and they kept fighting and fighting and fighting, and one fine day they had to print more money or debase their coins. The silver got the silver coin, which was pure in nature, which was pure silver coin. Copper got started adding in that, and aluminum got added in that. So it started degrading the quality of silver and gold so that they can make more silver and gold coins. So these are some of the policies which the government actually controls a market or the economy of the country. Yeah, so tax revenues, we are expected to collect about 20.16 lakh crore by the end of this financial year, which is a provisional, that's the expected tax collection. Now let's look at money supply. Like I said, they kept printing money. So what is M2 money supply? M2 money supply is a calculation of money that includes cash, your checking accounts, savings, money market securities, mutual funds, short-term deposits, which is 1 year and below. And so this is what consists of money markets. Okay, M2 money supply. Now this is the global money to supply, M2 money supply worldwide. So if you see the chart here, you can see the money supply has grown by 5 times in the last 20 years globally, which means globally everybody in the world has printed or put so much of currency in supply in the market, which has gone up like that. And this is specifically for India. The last 20 years, you see how much of currency supply has increased in the system, specifically for India itself. Okay. Now, why am I showing these charts? I'm showing these charts to show you that how much of the central banks across the globe have printed so money and taken debt from the future. Now today, these are the top GDPs of the world. Right at the top is USA, and then you have China next to it, and then Japan, Germany, and sometimes India is in the 5th or sometimes in the 6th, because UK and India, we are neck to neck. So because I wanted to show Indian GDP, I've put India as a top 5, but I could be wrong. India could be 6th as well. Okay, so this is as of 2020. Now, if you see, what is USA's GDP? $20 trillion or $21 trillion, right? And China, we have $14 trillion. Now, if you go to their debt, what is the debt ratio? What do you mean by debt? Debt to GDP ratio means, see, if you see, look at USA, it is saying 106% as of 2019, guys. That means I have not taken the data after the COVID has hit. And I'm pretty sure all the countries in the world has again printed more money, especially the US. I don't know if you have followed the news. They have given stimulus checks. They have given loan waivers, student loan waivers, so much of excess money which they have poured into the market. So I'm pretty sure this debt, which is sitting at 106%, would have gone up to 120 or 130 as well. Even in India, here it is at 69%. I would not be surprised if our debt would have reached to 80% after this 2021 or 2020 data comes through. So what does it mean by debt to GDP ratio? It means that if US's GDP is $21 trillion, USA's debt is 106% of it. Let's say 100 rupees is your GDP, you have to pay a debt of 106 rupees. Can you guys see how weird this has become now? Look at Japan, 238% debt to GDP. If you're getting 100 rupees as your income, you have to pay 238 rupees as debt. You have to pay that debt. And how will they do it? By taking more debt, by printing more currency, by taking loan from the future and delivering it today here. Just recently, the US again increased their debt cap. They had a debt cap that they will not go above $28 trillion. Now, because some of their debt came matured, they had to pay their debt. The Congress again got together and increased their debt ceiling to another $500 billion. And guess what? This will continue to happen, guys. And I believe USA has gone away, or they have passed that stage where they can actually bring their debt down. And again, this is my belief. This is again my opinion. I could be wrong, but as per the facts and data that I can see here in the chart, I believe that US has gone past and they are going into Japanese territories where now Japan cannot get their debt down at all at any cost. I mean, it's highly impossible. Some miracle has to happen for Japanese debt to come down, right? Now this is what you call, this is called Ponzi schemes. Basically, you're taking more loans to pay off the earlier loans. If you and I do it, we'll be put in jail, but the governments can do it, the countries can do it. That's the irony of it. Okay, so now what does that lead to? On a long span, this will lead to hyperinflated in economies. I'm not saying the US will go into hyperinflated because it's highly impossible, or rather the chances of US going into hyperinflation mode is very, very, very difficult, because the US dollar is the global reserve. So the demand for global reserve, a US dollar, is always going to be there. But any other country which dares to do what US or Japan has done, they can get into hyperinflation like this. So if you see, the recent phenomena is Venezuela. It has inflation of 15 lakh percent. 15 lakh percent, guys. I'm talking about 5%. India is talking about reducing it, or 5%, 4%. We're talking about those percentages in our country. And look at this. That means they can't buy a loaf of bread even with $1 trillion currency note. If you actually go there as a tourist in Venezuela, what I've heard is you can buy handbags which are made out of Venezuelan currency or the notes. So that is the extent there. Now, I'm not saying all the countries will go through it or US will get into this situation, but this could be a probability for other countries if they just keep on printing money like this and flushing the market with this, because there are few or the same amount of goods and services, but there are more amount of currency units chasing the same goods and services. So obviously what happens, the demand for the same good and services will go up and the price will also go up. That's the basic economics there. Any questions still here, guys, about the topics that I have covered? Is there any difference between Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? Yes, there is. Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, but apart from Bitcoin, there are so many other currencies which have come in, and all of them are not Bitcoins. So I'll tell you what the difference is in the next upcoming slides. Please explain the impact of cryptocurrency in our Indian economy. Okay, I'll do that. Anything else? Any other questions? Will Dogecoin reach Bitcoin level in the future? Abhiram, I have no idea. And personally, I am not a Dogecoin fan. Okay, so I'm not here to tell you what prices the cryptocurrencies will go up. So nobody can. And if they're saying they are the experts, they're lying to you guys. Okay, nobody is a expert on this particular space, especially. Will cryptocurrency affects the gold prices in India? It is already affecting, Jay. To be more precise, today the gold experts are thinking, because the inflation is going up, so gold basically is an inflation hedge. Okay, whenever there's an inflation spike, gold prices also goes up because it matches with the inflation. That's how gold has been all through the years. It matches with the inflation. It allows you to maintain your purchasing power. So whenever the inflation goes up, the gold price also goes up. However, this time it has gone up, but it has not gone up as per their expectations, because I feel that yes, cryptocurrencies have stole the thunder of gold. So now people are actually looking at gold as well as cryptocurrencies as a way to hedge inflation. So whenever they see inflation coming up, they see that gold is one way. Now there is another way called Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, where they can actually put in their money and protect their purchasing power. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Okay, another question. Is it good to permit private parties to hold asset of government? Yes, it is, but depends on what context it is being held. But yes, it is good to a certain extent. Yes, to a certain extent it is no. But I personally feel yes, it has to be. It is good in certain way. For example, Air India got privatized. I'm so happy because of that. Otherwise, 70,000 crore debt. Whose tax money was that? Yours and mine. So I mean, see, the allowing the private party in certain aspects of the economy, which allows free market to run, is absolutely beneficial for them. If you allow too much of government intervention in our lives, what happens is the government starts controlling everything, and at any given point in time, the government is not as efficient as a private entity, especially when you're running businesses. Yes, there are certain Maharatnas, Navaratnas, and certain government organizations which are great. Okay, it's not them because they're being managed very well. But those, at least those, government assets like BSNL, like Air India, which are not doing great and eating away our tax money, because how employees getting paid if the business is not making money is from our tax money, right? So all those entities which are not doing great, I think the government should allow the private entities to come over and run them more profitable way. Like today, BSNL, if you see, BSNL has the largest network, and nobody denies that. I worked in telecom industry, so I know. I worked with Reliance Communications. I know what powerful network BSNL has. BSNL has network in any the fiber optics has gone to probably all the nook and corners, or the maximum reach in the country is BSNL. But still, today they are in a very dire stage. Why? Because of the way they operate. If they had their chance, I'm telling you, they would have made even Narayan Murthy stand in queue for a 2 Mbps internet lease line. That is the way they run their show. That's how they are in a state like this today. Okay. Yeah. So Rahul is asking how hyperinflation is. Sorry, I lost that. Can you ask that again? Yeah, hyperinflation is affecting our country now. So we are not in hyperinflation, Rahul. 5% is not a hyperinflation. Hyperinflation is when we reach 1000% in a year, or 50% inflation month on month. Textbook, I'm giving you textbook definition. So textbook definition is 50% inflation month on month, and annually leading up to 1000% inflation. That's when you call it as hyperinflation. So in India, we are not in hyperinflation right now. We are having inflation. That is what is there. So we don't have hyperinflation in India. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay, moving on, because it's already 1 hour gone. So I have only half an hour, guys. So I'll try and be fast. So if you have any questions, please send me a mail. I will probably share my email, in the group or somewhere with the hosts, and they can share that with you. So what are the outcomes, disastrous outcomes because of this? Well, one is purchasing power keeps eroding. Your 100 rupees today, inflation, we are talking about 5%. That means 100 rupees in the bank tomorrow will be of only 95 rupees or 94.7 rupees as per the inflation, right? So purchasing power keeps eroding, creates wealth inequalities between haves and have-nots. What do I mean by that? Because we are always inflating the asset prices. Because whenever the economy is dipping below, as soon as the economy dips below, we are pumping in more money so that the economy starts, again, more houses are being bought, more cars are being bought, the prices keeps going up. So a person who's already owning a house, easy for him. So he's got property, he's got homes, he's got a lot of assets. For him, the asset keeps increasing, and it's easy for him to go from there. Whereas a poor man or a middle class man, a common man who doesn't have many assets, for him to buy an asset now, the first step itself will become so difficult because the prices are always increasing, always going up. It will only divide the gap. It will create more gap who's got some assets and who's got no assets. And for the person who's got no assets to buy something, it is becoming more and more difficult on a day-to-day basis because the prices are always escalating to a higher scale. Next, centralized control, robbing of freedom and privacy from common man. Why I say that is because, like I mentioned, you and I have no say in what the inflation rate should be. You and I have no say saying, I don't want inflation rate, I want, let it be deflating. It's fine. You cannot say that to a central government because central government wants inflation. Increased taxation and regulation. What I mean by that is we are taking loans, right? Now today COVID is there. They have taken so much of deficit. They have done so much of deficit spending. Who is going to pay for all that? Us. Our tax money will go there, and they will regulate each and every transaction. Hi, I'm sorry I got logged out. Just give me a minute, guys. I'll start presenting this again. Hi, am I back? Okay. Can you guys see me? Can somebody just drop in a message that you can see me?
Sir, yes, you are audible.
Okay. Okay, great. Thanks. Just give me a minute. I'll just pull out my presenter. Okay. So where were we? Yeah. So increased taxation and regulations, and next is reduction in the quality of life. Obviously, because every time you have to earn more money to stay at the same level that you are today. Okay. Then rise of dictatorships because of increased differences between haves and have-nots, rich and the poor. What will happen? The scare is, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but this will be one of the disaster outcomes. If the economy collapses, the most nefarious thing that can happen is a rise of a dictatorship. That's how Hitler came to power. Imagine Germany was already a democratic country before Hitler came into power. The reason Hitler got into power because the economy of Germany crashed. They went into a hyperinflation. The Weimar couldn't afford a single loaf of single apple on the road, and the economy collapsed. And then one man came out and saying, "I'm going to take care of everything. I will bring back Germany back to its glory." And people voted for him. And what did he do? He killed all the opposition. He became a dictator. And you know the story. You know what happened, right? So this is what happens if the economy collapses beyond people's imagination. And that is another greatest threat that we will face. If today something happens to US, unfortunately we don't have any other country which is as free as US, which is as progressive as US. You can see the next big country which is right next to US is China, and China has a communist party. That means they will do whatever, the government will do whatever they want to do. Okay, let's see. I'm connecting back again. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm having this strange internet issue. I'm really sorry. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what is the solution? So this is where people say, what is the solution? And people ask, what can we look at? So one is we can go back to using gold and silver as money. Then nobody can manipulate it because gold and silver is limited in nature. You can't print gold or silver. You just have to use whatever is there. Second is going back to gold standards, which is backing your dollar or your currency to a gold. Third is, of course, your distributed ledger technology or Bitcoin. Fourth is modern monetary theory, which is what the US is discussing right now. Some of the experts in the US economy is talking about modern monetary theory, and I for say I'm against it, because if at all what modern monetary theory means is they will no longer depend on taxation to collect their debts. They will no longer limit themselves in printing money. They will just print money for developing the infrastructure and building ecosystems so that people can do more in that particular environment. They will just print money. And modern monetary theory does not depend on, okay, we need to collect so many taxes, we need to take so much of debt from the future, and we'll have to do budgeting. Like in India, we say we'll do a physical spending of 9%. So this year we have done a physical spend of 9%. So we have to budget all that, right? So there's a committee which sits and says, okay, we'll budget this, we'll take so much of tax revenues, we'll spend it here, we'll spend. When it comes to modern monetary theory, The theory says that as a global reserve currency, which is what US is, as a global reserve currency, you can print as many currency as you want and nothing will happen to your currency. You don't have to depend on tax reserves. You don't have to depend on worrying about taking too much of debt. Whatever you want, you can just print the money and then your problems are all solved. Literally, that's what they say. So I'm not the big fan of it, but that's one of the solutions which the world is looking at, or that is what is there. Now, coming to Bitcoin. So why am I talking specifically about Bitcoin is because there are hundreds and hundreds of cryptocurrencies which have come into the market today, guys. And I'll be very frank with you. Not all of them are legitimate. Please do not go and buy every Tom, Dick, and Harry cryptocurrency which you're seeing in the platform nowadays. Every day there's something new or something shiny coming in. Without checking their fundamentalities, please do not invest in anything. This Dogecoin, I'm sorry, I don't want to take names, but this Dogecoin is actually started as a meme coin or a funny coin or a spoof coin for Bitcoin, and today it is, I don't know where it is. This is all because of speculation. That is why I'm here. I'm here because I don't want people to get into it for speculation's sake. I want people to know what this technology is and embrace it, because this is so advanced. It can actually solve a lot of issues that we have today. It can be an answer for climate issues also. Why? Because today your inflation is every day. All the governments wanted to inflate, keep on inflating. That means what? You have to use resources more to be at the same level. To earn the same 100 rupees, you have to burn more oil, burn more resources. That means you're putting stress on the climate as well, because you're an inflation economy, right? So this could be an answer for climate change as well, because Bitcoin is a deflationary currency. That means the value of Bitcoin over a period of time will keep increasing, because the supply is always limited. You will only have 21 million Bitcoins in circulation at any given point in time, unlike the currency of any government. Okay, now let's look at what it is. I don't want to again spend too much of time. I only have limited time of like about 20 minutes. So it's a decentralized digital currency which allows transaction between two parties anywhere in the globe, which is not big deal. Anybody can do it with the current existing banking system. It has no physical form. It is always on digital, whereas other currency systems, you have cash, you have check, DD, all those other physical forms that you can see and touch and feel, but this has nothing of that sort. It is based on a distributed ledger technology. So I'll tell you how it works. What does distributed ledger technology means? Where the data transactions are stored in all the ledgers with strong cryptography. Okay. Then it's a currency as well as a payment network, which means that you don't need a bank or an intermediary in between. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll give you more information in the next slide. Then it uses blockchain to run the whole network, and it claims to be Byzantine fault tolerant. Means it cannot be hacked, it cannot be tampered with, it cannot be manipulated. Okay. What does Bitcoin brings in? It brings in trust. That is why Bitcoin was invented, guys. That is where it will play a key role. It actually is bringing trust in avoiding these intermediaries. What kind of intermediaries? I'll tell you. Now let's look at how the banking system works. I'm talking about banking system as an intermediary. Okay. Now here you have a coffee shop and you're there and you're transacting for a cup of coffee. Okay. Now in the usual banking system, what happens is you're having an account with bank A and the coffee shop is having a bank account in bank B. And unless you're paying in cash, which nowadays nobody is doing, everybody is doing digital payments or credit card or debit card. What happens is you're basically instructing your bank A to send funds to bank B, which is where the coffee shop has an account. Right? Now, both these banks, what they do, they transact in between once in 7 or 14 days. And where do they do that? They do it in the RBI, which is the big daddy of all banks. So your data, your transaction is going through a system where you are dependent on bank A and bank B and as well as RBI. So if you have noticed, sometimes when you have made a transaction, either credit card or a UPI, if the transaction doesn't happen properly, they will come back to you saying if your money is deducted, it will come back to you within 7 days. Why is that? Is because in that 7 days, these two banks, bank A and bank B, will actually reconcile their accounts in the RBI. So it will take about 7 to 14 days to reconcile the books in with RBI. Okay, now that's why it'll take so much of time. Now here the challenge here is you're dependent on bank A, bank B, and the RBI. Now let's say if the bank A decides to give loans, large amount of loans, to people like Vijay Mallya, Nirav Modi, or XYZ like that, who will run away with the money that they have taken from. What will happen to that money of yours in that bank? Poof, gone. The bank would be in trouble, you would be in trouble, everybody, all the other banks who's given loans to bank A will be in trouble. So the whole system is interdependent on third party, guys. So now if something happens to bank A or bank B or the bank that you have money in, which you have no control on, did you choose? Did you tell them to give loan to Vijay Mallya? Did you tell them to give loan to Nirav Modi? You didn't, right? You just saved money in their bank because you thought that will be safe. That is the counterparty risk you have taken, that your money or your savings will be safe in that particular bank. But sometimes this happens and you are putting that risk is there, always the risk is there. Now here what happens is, in the blockchain system, you don't have any middleman. It's all a software program or a program which is run in the background. So this is how the DLT works, the distributed ledger technology works. So you have these nodes here everywhere. So can you see this? So these are, let's say I've put a computer, this could be a node anywhere in the globe. So you have these nodes here and all these nodes are connected to each other. And every time you make a transaction in this particular node, all the nodes copy it, not just bank A, bank B. Everybody copies it. Every node in the system, which are there are millions and millions of nodes, every node copies the transaction and puts it in their database. So how it works is, you have a blockchain which they are building. So the nodes are here and they're building blockchain. So they are storing data in these blocks. So let's say the same transaction, let's take the same example of buying a cup of coffee. So when you have done that, your transaction sits in a mempool, or it's called as unconfirmed transactions. So it comes and sits here in this particular mempool. And what happens is, these nodes pick up these transactions one by one. They can pick up 2, 3, whatever. I mean, the computer size, their size of the data that they can pick up. They can pick up these transactions and start solving a very, very complex mathematical problem. So they take they take these transactions, solve a very complex mathematical problem, and then once they solve that mathematical problem, their set of transactions gets added in the blockchain. So here you have one blockchain getting added, and then whichever node solves the mathematical problem and their block gets added into the chain, they get rewarded by that particular cryptocurrency, in this case Bitcoins. So what happens here is, this is called proof of work. So every time there's a transaction happening, one of these nodes will pick up, solve the mathematical problem, which is very complex and not easy to solve, which actually gives it security for the whole network. And then once the mathematical problem is solved, the blockchain gets added into the block, the block gets added into the blockchain, and then whichever node actually cleared it, solved that mathematical problem, will get rewarded. Okay, and then as soon as the new block gets created, all the nodes copy it. All of them copy that blockchain, add them into their database. So that means if this node is closed today, you can always run operations from the other 3 nodes. So similarly, even if somebody destroys all the nodes, any one node in any corner of the world, if it's still up and running, it can recreate the whole network, whole transaction within a fraction of hours. So this is how it works. So here, if you see, there is no bank, there is no third party. It's just the currency and the system in itself. which means there's no human intervention. It's just the software or the code or the program which is running the whole show, and you can't hack the program, you can't manipulate the program, and it is totally impartial, it is unbiased, and it'll run each and every transaction the way it will run for everybody. Okay, now I'll talk about something about mining here. So this is a Bitcoin. What I've showed you is a proof of work mining, which means it requires high computing power. It takes at least minimum 10 minutes to get a transaction verified, and it's highly secure and reliable. Now, because it requires high computing power, that's the reason why most of the these green all these people pushing for sustainability and all that, they are against Bitcoin, because most of this computing power today is being fueled by fossil fuels. So unless we move on to greener pastures, greener way of storing energy and running these Bitcoin nodes, it will obviously consume more and more energy from fossil fuels. So that's a big drawback in this particular technology. But I think this is something which anybody can overcome. People can change their proof of work to proof of stake. So that's the next level of mining which is happening, where the upcoming or the new cryptocurrencies, new age of cryptocurrencies, apart from Bitcoin, they saw, okay, Bitcoin is having this proof of work, this is taking too much of computing power, let's do something else. So then they switched over to proof of stake, which relies on validators. That means a group of people come together and validate a transaction rather than fighting for validating a single transaction. So what happens when you're fighting for it is, the higher the computing power, you have higher chances of winning. So each and every guy is putting more computing power, more energy is being consumed. Whereas proof of stake, what happens is, you have a group of validators who get round robin type chances. Each everybody gets a chance to validate a transaction and pass it through and create a block in that particular network. So it doesn't require high computing power, but it is not as secure too as a Bitcoin is, or as a proof of work is. Next, so coming to the advantages of Bitcoin, why this whole thing came up. Okay, you don't need a middleman, guys. You don't need middlemen, no institutions for completing a transaction. When I'm saying middleman, I'm not only talking about bank. I'm talking about any middleman who's going to give you security. Today, you people have stock markets, right? You have National Stock Exchange, Bombay Stock Exchange. What are they doing? They're actually giving you sense of trust that, boss, if you actually buy a set of company ABC stock, we will ensure that the stock is with us to give it to you. Otherwise, what happens? There is no trust. No, there is no trust whether for two parties to transact there. So BS here, the Bombay Stock Exchange comes in and then say, boys, I am the trust party. You will keep the stocks here with me, and every time somebody comes to purchase, I will hand over the stock to them, or every time somebody comes to sell, I will take the stock with me. So I will manage this. I am the trust here. So what happens here? You don't need a Bombay Stock Exchange. You don't need a National Stock Exchange. You guys are getting the picture, how it can actually revolutionize the whole industry here. The whole thing is run on the program itself. The trust is the program itself, which is what the other cryptocurrencies are also bringing onto the table, but in a different technology or a different way. They're doing proof of stake and so many other consensus models that they have. Okay. Next, it's a completely decentralized solution which requires more than 50% nodes approval to make any changes in the system. So like I mentioned, it is a completely decentralized solution. What do I mean by that is, now if you want to make any change in the monetary policy of a Bitcoin, more than 50% of the nodes have to give a go ahead. If not, the code, if the program will follow the way it is written. If you it's an open source program, anybody can see how the program is written. The white paper is available for everybody to see. You can see what the white paper is, how many Bitcoins will get launched, how many, if you solve a mathematical problem, how many Bitcoins you'll get, and how many Bitcoins are going to be circulating in the market. Like, for example, right now it is decided that 21 million Bitcoins will be there at any given point in time, and no more Bitcoins will be generated. So if somebody wants tomorrow to increase that supply of 21 million to, let's say, 25 million, they cannot do it unless and until 50% of the nodes and above approve it. So that means what? It's completely decentralized. Unlike the central bank, if they want to push in more supply or currency, they don't need 50% votes. They just go inside, lock themselves in a cabin or a conference room with 10 20 people, and then they make a call, and then they say, yes, we'll flush in more money, and then that's what they do. So there is no decentralization there, right? Now, deflationary currency with a limit of 21 million bitcoins. Why I say that is because after a point, there is not going to be any more currency creation there. So the same bitcoin is going to be worth more as you hold on to it. It is going to become deflationary. It is going to buy more goods and assets than what you are able to buy with one bitcoin today, because after 21 million there is not going to be any bitcoins, right? Now, next, it's a DLT, that is a distributed ledger technology, which allows decentralization other applications. What do I mean by that? Well, I'm talking about other applications where you can have a complete decentralization. For example, today YouTube is there. We are having this session on YouTube. Okay, I shouldn't talk about YouTube. Let's not talk about YouTube. Today you have Twitter. You have so many other platforms like that, Facebook. What happens is, as long as Facebook or Twitter likes you, you're there on the platform. The moment Twitter sees that you're doing something which they don't like, but it could be good for the people, they will remove you from there. I'm not, just to give you a classic examples, the then sitting president, Donald Trump, got kicked out of Twitter. And if a person like that can get kicked out of Twitter, then what about you and me? They can just swat you out, right? And it can happen to, recently I think Kangana Ranaut also got kicked out of Twitter, right? So now what I mean by that is, when you have a decentralized solution, for sure you get an audience to, or your voice is heard out. Just because you're saying something which the other person does not like it, doesn't mean that they can throw you out of the system. You will still be there. Yes, you might say something which the other person does not like it, but you get to voice out what you have, what you want to be heard with. That is up to you, right? So that is what I call a complete decentralized application. Now, final one, a system which is unbiased, impartial, and most regulated. Why I'm saying unbiased, impartial is because if you are getting a transaction passed, it is getting passed because of a certain parameters and nothing else. They will not see, okay, Mukesh Ambani's transaction, so let it just goes through, no issues. Or it is some XYZ, so now let us see what is there, what is not there. So there is no unbiased here. It's just impartial. It's just a system running the whole show, and it's completely what do you say, same treatment to everyone kind of a solution. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Any questions still here, guys? Now let us ask all the crypto questions I am willing to answer. No questions? Okay. No questions, guys?
Sir, our students will ask the questions.
Okay. Yeah, please.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Sir, Miami Mayor Francis Soros has said that he would be paying the public employees with bitcoins in the future to make their digital hub there. So, are the employees ready to accept these kind of payments, sir?
So that's up to the employees how much they are educated in this. I certainly see that the Miami government they want to adapt this technology, and it depends if it's always a choice. I think the employees are given a choice. If they want to, they can pick it up. Otherwise, they can choose the regular modes of payment that they have. It's up to them. I don't think the government has made it mandatory. They cannot make it mandatory. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Afternoon,
Any
sir.
other questions? Yeah.
We have seen it many times that Elon Musk tweets affecting the trade of cryptocurrencies. Why his
Yeah.
tweets make such difference?
Yeah, it's all speculation. What's your name? Your name?
Anuradha, sir.
Okay, Anuradha. So it's all speculation, Anuradha. Don't get bothered about all that. Okay. So Elon Musk can do a lot of things. Okay. If you look at it, he's become the most richest man in the world without creating a single profitable business yet. None of his businesses, they are fantastic. I'm not against Elon Musk. They are fantastic. Okay. He is out of the world. But on the ground reality today, none of his projects are yet turning profits. Okay. It might, there is high probability that he will do fantastically well. He'll become the next guy to look up to. With every, there are already people looking up to him, but the ground reality is today none of his projects are making money yet, profits yet. So if a guy can become the richest man in the world by just selling his story, then you can imagine what else things you can do. So don't get bothered about what Elon Musk is tweeting. Please use your head and do your own research. Don't get just because he's tweeting something, Dogecoin went off to the moon. Okay, but fundamentally, I don't see any value in Dogecoin. Okay, it's just people just running behind those tweets. So don't go there. Use your own research. Use your own time and energy to invest your money wherever you're investing, if in case you want to. Okay, that's my suggestion. Okay, I have another question popping out. Recently, RBI said it is going to launch e-rupee digital currency. Will private investors of crypto turn to government crypto? How will it make difference? Yeah, very valid question, Supraja. Not only Indian government, even the US government is looking to launch their own digital currencies. So you're asking how it will make a difference? I'll tell you that in coming slides. Okay, just let me take a question from yes.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir,
Yeah, good afternoon.
Indians have invested in cryptocurrencies. So
Yeah.
what happens if government ban the cryptocurrencies?
We're all screwed.
Once again, sir.
I'm saying we're all doomed. See, if the government bans it, then obviously all those people who have invested in cryptocurrencies will lose money. Or at least the government, if they are intending to ban it, they might give a time frame saying that please come out of cryptos by so and so time, and we will lose out on something which is fantastic technology. Which if we can rightly use this technology in a proper way, the lives of humanity can benefit in a long way, but it depends on the governments that we have amongst us.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So I have another question from Maunika. She's asking, cryptocurrency is available for trading, but why did Bitcoin get more popular? For the same reasons I just mentioned. It became popular because a lot of other mainstream people started taking these to Twitter and tweeting, like how Elon Musk, somebody asked the question now. So people like these started tweeting about it, and the price of Bitcoin started shooting up. So the buzz got created and people started going and buying BTC without any people. Some of them have the idea, some of them they're just going because the price is going up, and they think because the price is going up, even I have to invest. So that's how they're going. Yeah, please ask.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Tejaswini. So I have a question, sir. Many countries are optimistic about cryptocurrency, but
Yeah.
still we have few countries which are not accepting bitcoins and not investing in bitcoins. So
Yeah.
what could be the reasons and how can we overcome that?
Yeah. So the reason is simply because if they adapt Bitcoin, they will lose all the control and the power of money creation. They cannot manipulate the way they are manipulating. They cannot print money to get away from debt. So why do you think the governments are coming into power? Why do you think people want to be voted into power? Because they have the right to use your tax reserves the way they want to. They have the right to run the show. They have money. Now, if you give that money power from their control to the common man or to Bitcoin or people to use Bitcoin, they have no control. They have no say. They cannot print excess Bitcoins. They cannot say, they cannot change the interest rates, right? Like how they do it now. So it's complete loss of power. So that's why they will never give it to Bitcoin. As long as you leave it to governments, it becomes very difficult for governments to say, okay, let us give away this power to Bitcoin. They will never do that. You and I, as a common man, we have to step up and say, boss, I need this. This is for my life, my benefit. I need this. So then the governments are forced to look at it. See, today, I think world is too late. Even the US government is too late. If they could have stopped it, they should have stopped it long before. But now I think it's too late for them to stop. But I'm still thinking that the US government will not go back, will not allow it to become a global reserve, or will not allow people to use it as a global reserve going forward. They will fight back. But it is going to be bloody. It is going to be, if they had killed it at the infancy stages, this wouldn't have been a problem for the US government. But now it has grown to a level where if there is at all a fight, it will be bloodshed everywhere. You will find people fighting. I mean, you'll find people being thrown into bars. A lot of bloodshed will be happening. So if in case, because they are too late, and I still don't know if the governments actually realize that this technology can actually have the power to take away their control on money and finances. Yeah. So there's another question from Kavya. She's asking, why is Kiyosaki backing Bitcoin as he's expecting biggest crash in the world? Yeah, so he's expecting biggest crash. That's why he's supporting Bitcoin. So see, Kavya, the reason could be anything. So I follow a lot of macroeconomic trends. So there is a lot of experts, a lot of school of thought, which is thinking that we have actually crossed a mark where we have printed too much of money. Okay. And that will lead, and we have too much of inflated asset prices. The stock markets are all-time highs. The economy is in a dip, in a very slow dipping scenario, but the stock markets are touching all-time highs. Can you see there is no relevance at all? How many of you have seen your businesses closing down because of these lockdowns and COVID? I personally have seen 2-3 restaurants. They have never opened up again after the lockdown lifted. How many businesses got impacted? Tourism, hospitality. And that means the economy is getting impacted, right? People are getting less paid, less earning, less spending is happening. Economy has to slow down, but the stock markets are making all-time highs. So there is something wrong here, right? So that's why he's backing Bitcoin, I think. Kavya, if that answers your question. Yeah, please.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Jahnavi. From recent news, I have learned some scam, sir, that why Squid Game cryptocurrency has done a scam, sir. It plummeted from $2,800 to zero in just 5 minutes, sir. From your point of view, how did that scam happen, sir?
Scam happened because people don't know anything about it and just go buy stuff. See, I personally know a person who started a cryptocurrency, and it is nonsense. It is nonsense. And when I questioned him, he opened up to me saying, Dharnesh, I'm just making money out of this and getting out. And unfortunately, we are today in a stage where people don't know anything about it and they enter into any shiny thing which comes up. That's what I keep saying. Please do not go buy something which is just shiny and nice and just come in. You have to read the white paper. You have to see what is it, what is the program about? How many cryptocurrencies are they going to float? What is the is it our proof of work or proof of stake? Are you doing that research, or just simply because Elon Musk tweeted Dogecoin, so you go buy Dogecoin? Somebody else will type something else tomorrow, and then that is the problem. And that is why I'm here spending time to educate people. Please don't do that. You will first of all, people will lose money because there are a lot of scamsters like this, and it only gives the government a chance to shut down the whole thing. They will shut down everything because they will say that, scams are happening, people are losing money, so let us shut down, let us take this opportunity and shut the whole thing down. They will do it. Now, who will be the people at loss? Common man like you and me, who will lose out on this technology. It's just not about money. Today, you can do voting on DLT. That means nobody can manipulate your votes. Today, your real estate can be sold on DLT, distributed ledger technology. That means nobody will sell the same land again to 2-3 people. How many have you? I personally believe that everybody must have come across that they have bought a piece of land and tomorrow 2 other people are claiming that they are the owners of the land. All this thing will go away if you have this DLT, distributed ledger technology, because once you sell a land, it's cryptographed, it's put it in a hash, and nobody can hack it, and everybody can see whom the land belongs to before you can buy or sell. So it's wonderful technology if you actually use it properly. And if you go and buy like this, keep spending money on these scamsters and lose money, it only gives money a government a chance to come and say, boss, people are losing money, let's shut the whole thing down. So please do your own research, spend time, learn, read, see what the technology is about. I'm not saying the new guy, whatever new thing will come is wrong or it'll be bad. Only thing is, please see what is the logic behind it, what is their white paper, why is that they're launching this particular coin, what problem is it solving, and so on and so forth. Do your research properly and then jump in before doing anything. Just don't go buy stuff because some prominent figure has tweeted something on Twitter. Don't do that, please.
So one more question. Why
Yeah.
are cryptocurrencies doing bad job at markets, sir?
Bad job in the market means?
They are not that much efficient, sir. Many are not using cryptocurrencies, sir. They are saying that is not an effective one. It has not gained the market importance until now. When you are not using them.
Yeah, so I would beg to differ. The mainstream is not using it. I don't know. I didn't get your name. What is your name?
Jahnavi.
Yeah, Jahnavi. Yeah, Jahnavi. So the mainstream Jahnavi is not using it. Yes, for sure. But if you look at it, there's a whole new industry which is brewing, which is called DeFi, decentralized finance. There are already stock markets. There are already banking loans, peer-to-peer loaning, and a lot of other financial transactions which are happening, already happening. And you will not believe the rate at which they're growing today. The DeFi industry is a $1 trillion economy today. $1 trillion economy with just a few years of being in existence. Smart contracts. I don't know if you have heard of smart contracts. So the cryptocurrencies can allow you to give you a smart contract option where you don't have to depend on the court of law. So again, another third intermediary being removed. Why do you, when you do a business with somebody, what happens? You sign a contract, right? You sign a contract, right? So contract is for what? If in case the other party doesn't fulfill his agreement, you go to the court of law. You go to the court, right? So that you're trusting the what? The court of law here. Now the cryptocurrencies have come up with smart contracts, wherein you will not have to depend on court of law at all. They will create a smart contract wherein you do an agreement with another party, and if any of these parties do not agree or adhere to their particular agreement, the cryptocurrency is designed in such a way that your money comes back into your wallet. You don't have to worry about going to the court of law, asking for the court to fight the case and then get your money. And you know how much efficient our court system is and how much time the court system takes to solve a case, right? Now all these major businesses, I'm telling you, they will all switch to these smart contracts because they will not want the headache and nuisance of a court of law, going there, lawyer fees, that fees, this fees, and then hearing, and year after year. Oh my God, don't even think about it. And the smart contracts will make their life so easy, because if the other party doesn't keep up to his agreement, the money just comes back to you. Because that's why I'm saying it's a program. If it doesn't meet checklist 1, 2, 3 is not met, if the checklist is 3 is not met, the money will automatically come back to your account. So if your agreement is you will do number 1, number 2, number 3, all 3 things have to be done by the other party, and then the money goes into his wallet. Otherwise, if he doesn't do anything, the money comes back to you. So you can define whatever you want to define. So the mainstream doesn't know this, Jahnavi, but there is already an industry brewing and people are adapting to this. If not the currency, the technology is being adapted. Smart contracts are being adapted. Today, Ethereum is a market leader in smart contracts. The reason Ethereum is the second largest cryptocurrency in terms of market cap is because of smart contracts. People are doing that. And then NFTs, non-fungible tokens. So I'll give you a brief about non-fungible tokens. An example. Today, carbon credits are going to be very expensive. I mean, in the sense, recently we had a COP26 meeting, right? Like all the global leaders met in Scotland. discussing how they can reduce the carbon emissions. And our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, has told that India will become carbon neutral by 2070. Right now, if in case we don't be carbon neutral by 2070 or whatever time frame it is, you will have to go buy the carbon credits from other countries where they have saved more carbon emissions than their quota is. Right now, to buy those carbon credits as an individual investor, you and I cannot buy. So there are a lot of institutions, they buy these carbon credits and they are selling tokens to individual sellers. So you will not believe there's so many use cases already happening in this particular platform. It's just the currency is not being adapted, but inside the ecosystem of that particular technology, there's a lot of things happening.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, there's another question from Veeramachineni. One apprehension about cryptocurrencies is that they are used by terrorists and black marketers. Okay, do you think the dollar is not being used by terrorists? Do you think the dollar is not being used by black marketeers? Do you think the rupee is not being used by terrorists? That's my answer to the question.
A cheerful good afternoon, sir. I'm Sai Lakshmi.
Yeah.
My question is, for what purpose the banks are creating their own cryptocurrencies?
Can you come again, please?
For what purpose the banks are creating their own cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, just to be in the game. Today, it's not only banks. It's about there are a lot of people coming in the race. It's even the Facebook is coming with their own cryptocurrency. It's called Libra. I think now they're calling it as DIEM. I don't know what they call that. So Facebook is coming up with their own cryptocurrency, and I'm suspecting there's a lot of closed door operations happening in these large scale Silicon Valley companies. Like you have these big companies, Silicon Valley companies. I'm pretty sure they're also sensing blood, and they are designing something which can become the next global reserve and beat dollar, because people are losing trust in dollar. It's just that there's no way else. There's no other currency as a global reserve apart from dollar. So they're still stuck with dollar. If somebody can come up with something fantastic and something much better than dollar, people are ready to switch. And these Silicon Valley companies are designing these cryptocurrencies just so that their currency becomes the global currency in the world. And so the banks are also doing it. JP Morgan is doing it. See, I'll tell you what, if the banks don't do it, they will be out of business. Today, with these cryptocurrencies, you don't need banks. You don't need third-party intermediaries at all. So if they don't come up with something new and innovative, they will be out of business. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, Rahul is asking, can a cryptocurrency be dominating in financial services? Yes, it can, Rahul. And in the future, I think next 20-25 years, it is going to be the era of decentralized finance. Yeah, it is. It is going to be. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. Myself, Grishma. And my question is, for the startup, what are the suggestions you will give, and which is the cheapest and best to buy the cryptocurrencies, sir?
Okay. To start, I think, I mean, again, I'm not advertising anything, guys. So don't think that I'm advertising. So before I answer this question, let me tell you, I do own Bitcoin. And I do own a couple of other projects, which I feel they're very potential and has a lot of growth aspects into it. So I've bought HBARs and EOS and Bitcoins. These are the three major cryptocurrencies that I have invested. Now, I will not tell you what you have to go buy. Please go your own research and then step in. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. 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 1 minute. So there's somebody asking, is WazirX app safe? Yeah, it is. It is quite safe. I mean, to my knowledge, it is quite safe, Swati. Yeah. Yes, please ask your question. Yeah, please ask your question. Okay, somebody's asking, how do you identify fake cryptocurrencies? Just read about them, read their white papers. what are they, why actually they launched the cryptocurrency in the first place, what problem are they solving. So how are they different from other cryptocurrencies which are existing in the market, what is the value they're bringing onto the table. So read about all those things and then get into those cryptocurrencies. See, I like I mentioned, I know my own, personally I know somebody who's actually launching something which is nonsense. There's nothing there. He has used two buzzwords. I don't want to name that also, because then he might file a defamation suit against me. But he has just used the two buzzwords and then launched buzzwords which are very famous now, and then launched it. And his intention is that people will start trading and the price will go up over a period of time, and I'll dump everything and come out. That's all. And that's what people will do. And that's so many of them are like this. Just come in, list it in some exchange, make sure that people start trading it, and once the price fluctuates to a certain point, they will dump everything and get out of it.
Yeah, sir. I think we have completed the Q&A session, sir.
Okay.
And our student, Mr. Surya, will formally give a vote of thanks.
Okay, great. I actually have some more content to cover. Maybe next time, because of lack of time, I have to cut it short. But next time, maybe if there's given an opportunity, we can do it. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lovely and warm afternoon to our most valued and worthy guest, Sri Dharnesh Krishna Koganti sir, respected Dean sir, faculty members, and my beloved friends. As we all know, crypto, the present trend, and the word which is being heard from many mouths. And we students of PB Siddhartha College of Arts and Science are aware of the cryptocurrencies by the knowledge and experience of Sri Dhanesh Krishna Koganti sir. And we have learned many new things, like why we need cryptocurrency and what are the factors which affect that, and what are the various financial policies, and what are various disastrous outcomes which occur due to the problems in our financial systems, and what are the best solutions which are required are being told by us. And we also know that sir has explained many new things about Bitcoin, how a Bitcoin will be, and how a Bitcoin works, and various source of information sir has given. So finally, sir, I and Suryanand, student of PB Siddhartha College of Arts and Science, I would like to spread my most sincere thanks to our chief guest, Sri Dhanesh Krishna Koganti sir, who gave his vital time from his busy schedule to grace this webinar and sharing his experience and knowledge with us. Thank you, sir. And I also would like to thank our Dean, sir, and respected faculty members and technicians who have cooperated for this webinar. And I also would like to thank all my beloved friends for participating in this webinar effectively. So once again, I thank each and everyone for participating in this webinar effectively and with utmost patience. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank the faculty administration again for having me here. And it's my pleasure to always share what I have learned and what I have gained over my experience. And really honored to be here and privileged to get this opportunity. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, Dharnesh, thank you. Thank you very much. This is Rajesh Jambala. So it's actually a very wonderful session. And most of the participants, I think we can call out the feedback. Most of the participants expressed their happiness about the way you presented the very complex macroeconomic background. Also, you presented in a very lucid manner, and you brought us the insights about the cryptocurrencies and the various issues relating with cryptocurrencies. So once again, on behalf of PB Siddhartha College of Arts and Science, we thank you profusely for this wonderful session. As we are also planning to have another session with you I mean, in a very short span of time. So we would like to have many more sessions with you.
Sure.
So yeah, we will come up with certain, what I can say, program schedule, and we will announce it in the next our YouTube link.
Sure.
So on behalf of my beloved principal, Dr. Meka Ramesh, and my colleagues and the management of Siddhartha Academy, I thank, especially for you, to come to the level of the students to communicate in a sense, like as I said just now, very complex, dynamic digital currency world in a very simple manner. So we look forward to many more sessions with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And
Thank you so much.
yeah, for your information, I would like to say that most of the participants are not only from Andhra Pradesh, but we got registrations from across the country. We got it from the northeast, like Assam, to the down south, like Tamil Nadu, Kanyakumari. We had participation, and I believe that this particular link in the YouTube is a permanent link, and in that sense, people can revisit because they cannot decipher what sometimes in the nick of the moment, but they can go back to the YouTube link. I urge all the participants to go back to the YouTube link whenever there is a possibility of time for more clarifications. And if at all you are having any doubts, so you can come back to us so that we will seek clarifications from our resource person. So I request all the participants to fill the feedback form, and thank you very much for registering with our particular program. Once again, Dharnesh, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Bye. Yeah.
Have a nice time. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.